Oh. Hello and welcome to another YouTube live. Today we have got plenty of new members here. But yeah, first of all, I would like to talk about Dhruti here, who has joined our team recently and works for the Manchester United Supporters Club in Mumbai and is an avid Real Madrid fan. But our guests today are Siddharth and Lakshay. They are Chelsea fans, and while being Chelsea fans in the transfer market would bring you a lot of smiles, the new season hasn't so far. So, Siddharth bhai, the Chelsea's form hasn't been as amazing as your dancing steps on the floor. So, how do you see the new season, and what are your thoughts on it so far?
Right. But I'm not sure about the dancing step, but a lot of our attackers are missing on the samba moves. I wish we all of us had of players who were capable of doing that. But
Right.
yeah, it's been a very slow start to the season. Pretty young boys out there.
Mm.
I think we need to give them a bit of a time. It's a huge price on their value, and coming in expecting a bang out of them was a lot. But yeah, we
Absolutely.
expected it because a lot of promises were made from the owners and a lot of hype around the preseason time. We were playing a 4-2-3-1 formation, if I'm not wrong, right? And that
Mm.
was very flamboyant. The style of football was very flowing. It was very impressive. It gave us, that hope. Yeah, is na there's going to be something last year extremely gloomy, but it didn't. We got injuries immediately as the season started. We had Nkuku out, we had Badiashile out. We were looking to play him a 4-2-3-1 system with Thiago Silva, but all of those I think made Pochettino shift to a five system, and I think that's where the downfall began. So
Fair.
yeah.
Makes sense. Lakshay bhai, I'll come to you here. So far, Chilwell has played a lot more forward, and like players like Mudryk, who were really shining in preseason, haven't like really lived up to the billing so far. Like I know, of course, it is early days. So how do you make of Chelsea's early form, and do you see a change of fortunes in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, we have spent a lot in the transfer market, and there, of course,
A
all
lot.
Chelsea fans expect a lot from the new players. So when we focus on Chilwell, now I guess Poch is forcing him to play wing back, left wing forward also. So he's asking him to push forward as well. But we have seen that in these four opening games, he's not being able to perform well. And he's
Mhm.
also playing a lot of out of position players, like Caldwell is also playing forward. So when it comes to Chilwell, he's a very talented player, and Reece James and Chilwell, both wing backs, is something I'm concerned about.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, Dhruti, I'll come to you here. You in our chats in the morning were talking about, you had a lot to say about Chelsea. So, banter away. What are your thoughts on Chelsea season, and are you having the most fun of times as a rival fan or someone who doesn't support Chelsea?
Okay, so first thing, Chelsea's pre-season was good, okay? सबको
Hmm.
बहुत hopes था. It was like, मतलब, don't
Amazing.
mind my language, but सोने का कटोरा मिल गया था, ठीक है? Pre-season में, but after that,
Very good.
we saw like वेस्ट हैम का मैच देखा, नॉटिंघम का मैच देखा, ठीक है? मुझे ना बुरा लग रहा है, ठीक है? I mean, to start with, the manager said that हमारा dominance था मैच में, but our luck wasn't good, and I feel like, is that true? Is that real?
Right,
I mean,
right,
I
right.
disagree with that because कन्वर्ट क्यों नहीं हुआ? तुम्हारे पास स्ट्राइकर भी है यार, हमारे पास तो स्ट्राइकर भी नहीं है, तुम क्या कर रहे हो?
Makes sense, makes sense. So,
Yeah,
very strong views from Dhruti here. Siddharth bhai, I'll come to you here. These being injury prone, should Chelsea go for another right back? Before you answer this question, I personally feel Chelsea have invested a lot of money on a lot of players, but I just feel that they haven't like players like Osimhen or Vlahovic, like players who would have actually made a lot of difference. Maybe they haven't like really gone for the signings that would like make that sort of change that would transform the whole squad mood altogether. Do you feel the same, or do you like have different views on it?
No. I totally agree. Yeah. See, you must understand that Nicholas Jackson wasn't like a really all-out striker. He wasn't a marquee
Hmm.
signing when he came in, right? Nicholas Jackson does not play well with his back on goal. Not at all. You expect him to drive through defenses, mid through defenses. That's the kind. He's all pace basically. And when you come in a top team, I think he came from Villarreal. So he comes from a place that you're
Yeah.
counter attacking, right? So that's where he's more, his forte lies there. But when you come in a team where you have to little be more creative, like Giroud or Lewandowski, when you have the goal to your back, you expect a lot. But I think that's where the signing went wrong. And we lost Broja, which he's slightly better than Nicholas Jackson with the
Hmm.
back towards goal. But yeah, I think that's the only place I think where we went wrong. But we have Lavia and Casido, and I think
I said, yeah, who could have gone to Liverpool, but yeah. But the good, I was about to mention it at the start of this episode that, while Chelsea fans can take all the Liverpool players away, they cannot take members of the Indie Football podcast even higher wages. Am I right, Shruti, on that?
Well,
Anyway. Lakshay bhai, I'll come to you here. With Chelsea, like Caicedo, of course, like we know, has been a British record signing and comes with a lot of expectations on his shoulders. And do you think he looks good in like a midfield too, or do you think if he plays further forward as an eight and him and Enzo, sorry, with say Lavia as a number six would be a better combination?
So when we come to these both players, I will say that it's a dream midfield we have right now. So the problem right now is that like it's not a very balanced team. It's a very young team. The average is, as you saw, the average team age was 22.5 years old. It's the youngest in the Premier League. So what I think is that with Lavia, Casido, and Enzo Fernandez, especially, this midfield needs to dominate the Premier League. And like we were just talking before, Luton and other West Ham and Nottingham Forest, we got dominated by them. But the Liverpool game, if you saw, it was a very balanced game from both sides. It was very dominated because like teams like Nottingham Forest and West Ham, they basically play packed games. They don't expect much at Stamford Bridge. But
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have a very experienced team, our team is not made of very experienced players right now. So they are not able to do a breakthrough and create more chances. And when Jackson is also considered, he's basically his footwork is really off right now. He is just pace, no finishing and creating chances. So
Right.
I think a midfield with Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez should dominate the Premier League right now, and I hope it does. It's just the first four opening games are not enough.
I like the optimism here, Dhruti. Some of our podcast listeners and YouTube subscribers are saying that isn't it obvious? We have a young squad, most of whom have their first season in the Premier League. It will take them some time, as Lakshay also pointed out. Do you agree with this, or do you think that with the overhaul which has been happening for the last 1 year, more than it's been more than a season, do you think that results should have been more tangible by now?
I agree that it will take time for, Chelsea to get there because suddenly there are too many new players. There is a lot of lack of experience. Everything is just, being in the
Amen.
formation right now, just getting into the form. But one thing I wanted to point out was that I feel that the during the transfer market, new players got long-term contracts way too soon. There is one thing you could have done with that, ki maybe you could have reduced thoda sa the contract and you could have seen them play first. Kaisa hai? They are gelling in. Are they settling in? Chemistry. I mean, I
Right.
felt like it was very, very soon of, like to just go with the long-term contracts.
right. So,
I
so the
agree. Like
right, go
before
ahead.
start by give your views, I think it's something related to amortization, right? And because of the financial fair play that these things are happening, right?
Yeah,
Right. So basically, it works like this that like you spread the pay across the long-term
payment
contract.
across
So
the tenure
what
of the
Chelsea
contract.
did, you won't imagine players like who came in for like 100 million were put on salaries like 100K. So the price tags are really high. Many clubs also knew the fact that Chelsea was undergoing a lot of changes because of the Ukraine and Russia war. So all the
Makes
assets,
sense.
a lot of things, working everything from the technical director wasn't just a player change. It's a whole new club and a whole new identity. I'm not really biggest fan of the new hierarchy system, but I think have you watched this movie called Moneyball, where more than what happens on a
Yeah, yeah.
pitch, it's actually what happens
The
behind the
Bradford one,
hierarchy.
right?
Right, right. So I
Hmm.
think that it's a really good explanation that not everything happens on the field. It can't be always marquee signing. It has to be the hierarchy that forms the club. And right now, it's not really. But if they're doing good, if you we didn't expect so many signings, over the time. But he did promise, so he's doing his best. I think as owners, you can bring in good players, and that's what he's doing. Now it's up to the manager how he ties them and stitches them all up and bring them up for the season.
That is a very rational view on things, actually. But like a lot of people have pointed out that although Chelsea have spent a lot of money, and as Siddharth bhai pointed out, not everything is about marquee signings. But it said that Chelsea lack of philosophy, maybe, or an overall identity, plus Boli spending a lot of money, maybe it's not a sustainable business. Or for that matter, I understand that any football fan would want to see the club spend a lot of money. Like I guess that's what all of us must have done on FIFA, right? But Lakshay, why do you think it's a sustainable sort of a thing, like from a very bird's eye point of view, looking in the future, or do you think that it could be a recipe for disaster?
See, as I said, it's a very young squad. It will take time for them to deliver right now. So like if Poch is still there or not, but Poch needs to understand like if we have so many injuries right now, like Nkuku was a main star who we were focusing on. So what Poch needs to understand is that if he doesn't have the players available like the way he wants to play, he needs to get behind the fact that he cannot keep playing with the three at the back, which is not at all working. So, as far as the young players is concerned in sustainability, I think they'll improve because I mean they're not exactly bad players; they're really great players, and they will improve. And I'm sure we'll have a great midfield, great set of players in the future. They're future great talents, but yeah, it takes time for them to deliver.
Right. Dhruti, for someone who has seen players like Thibaut, Courtois, and Eden Hazard come to Real from Chelsea, and of course Eden Hazard they didn't really work out, but you know the kind of player he was at his prime when he was at Chelsea. So, do you feel that that although they were still spending relatively a lot more money than some of the other Premier League rivals, the whole hierarchy, the whole model again under Roman Abramovich was a lot better than what it has been so far under Todd Bowley.
Um, Honestly, I have no idea about that because as a football fan, I have started watching football like few months ago, so I don't think I am at that position of answering this question.
Right. So Radha, no worries, no worries. So Radha, I'll come to you here. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you think the Roman Abramovich model was better, or do you think Todd Bowley, or with that money ball style, maybe something more exciting and better for the longer term for the club?
Yeah, their styles of ruthlessness, I think, is visible in both. They're actually much similar. It's just the hierarchical systems that were messed up. Both are ruthless. You saw managers come and managers go. They didn't even take time.
Right.
They didn't. I think that's been our club identity, to be honest, and it's always worked for us. We don't tolerate, mediocrity. And I think from the past 20 years, if City has just taken the lead, but ever since Roman was there, we were the best English club. And ever since, it's been a loss of definitely. Um, but let's see what Todd brings to the table. But he looks he's going to do. He's bringing the signing, he's bringing the money, and as long as that's there now, mistakes can happen. But once you lose the money, it's a whole the trust the process, inspiration and all these kind of words start coming in the managers and owners post match interviews. That's when okay, things are going down. But yeah, so I think in Todd Bowley we believe, and let's keep the things going.
Yeah, I agree with him with it because you see, it was his first full season under his new ownership under Todd Boehly. So we
Right.
will hope to see better success in the future. And of course, we cannot forget the Roman era, obviously, and Chelsea is obviously the most successful club this century.
Absolutely. Amebhai here also agrees that restlessness is Chelsea's culture, which they feel is good, but many might disagree. And I mean, every club has their own philosophy. And let's be honest, Chelsea were the Champions League winners some time back. It wasn't really long back, even though they had, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, who I won't say were the most prolific. They still managed together as a unit to carve out those results in the recent past only. Dhruti, I'll come back to you here once again. Like, according to you as a football fan, like what areas do you think Chelsea can work upon this season? Because like if you look at their team, they have everything. Like let's be very honest about it. You look at their midfield, their defense. They have got someone like Colwell, who is one of the brightest prospects in the country. They have got a striker, Nicholas Jackson, who can really thrive. The injury to Nkunku is of course a bit unfortunate, but overall Chelsea on paper seem like a very strong team. So do you think that they can bounce back this season from where they have been, and what do you think they can change in their philosophy going forward?
I think for them, it's still not too late to at least get into the top four right now. It's not really very late. So I think working can be done on players where you don't really, focus or just rely on, for example, Nkunku, जो अभी after that pre-season, उसके बाद he's just not there and it just looks like, um, something is off. So maybe, for example, you all can focus on areas where other players, like those who are in the subs right now, even they have a lot of potential, which is something I feel. So maybe giving them a little more of a play time could not only get them enough experience, but you'll have some time to create chemistry as well, since it's a huge transition phase. So yeah, I think working on that could help.
Right. And as we move towards the interesting views, actually, as we move towards the end of this YouTube live, so it said that it's what the owners did with the Dodgers too. They paid heavily for players over there too, and the club's value has gone down. See, personally, I think I would like to give my opinion here that every club and every sporting entity has a different sort of way in which they do things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And although I hate to say it as a Liverpool fan, I think Chelsea have done excellent business this season. And the only way for them, especially with the start they have had, is forward. I think that is the biggest step. That is like the silver lining here. Siddharth bhai, how with Chelsea still in the Carabao Cup and Chelsea, having made some really good signings. Where do you see Chelsea finishing the Premier League this season?
Uh, okay. I think it's going to be a top five finish. It depends how the injuries goes in November. If you see
Hmm.
more than anything else, Chelsea's entire season rests in the month of October end to November end. It's where we have the most difficult run of games back to back, and
Hmm.
if injuries don't happen, I see we beating those top teams. But if injuries do happen, which has happened last year as well, and the beginning of the season, then it's going to be a tough season. So it all depends on how. And our medical team is also not doing very great. So that's what we have to keep it track on this season.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Lakshabhai, I'll come to you here with the last question of this YouTube live. So, of course, like Chelsea on the positive side, absolutely dominated Liverpool in the first Premier League game, and I think honestly Liverpool were very lucky to come out with a point there. So, how do you see Chelsea finishing this season? And do you think players like Colwell, players like Caicedo, players like Lavia, who will soon be coming and joining in the unit, can turn their fortunes around?
Yeah, actually, I also believe that we'll have a top six finish, but it also depends, like Siddharth said, it also depends on the injuries. So, and depending on medical team does a good job, and we have no, and then we have the luck in our favor, then probably we'll have a top six finish because if you had watched the Liverpool game, as I said, we dominated those games. So it is not like that we'll not be. It doesn't have the last season vibes, which we were thinking we're going to have a game this season and we're going to be depressed or something. I think it's going to be a positive season this time.
Interesting. On that positive note, I would like to thank you, Siddharth, Lakshay, and of course Dhruti for joining on this YouTube live. It's been a pleasure having you guys here, and we look forward to having more of these YouTube lives. Hopefully for Chelsea with more positive results and a better turn of form. Thank you guys for joining us. It means a lot to us when you come on the Indie Football Podcast. We hope to have more people from Chelsea Chandigarh anytime soon. And thank you so much. Hope we can, I never thought I'd say this, but up with the blues and up the blues. Thank you.
Thanks, Anukas. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.